see the program out. Hello and welcome. This is Stephen with Singular, and today we're going to dive into some beginner information about Singular for new users, maybe even for some of you that have already logged into Singular, have some questions, jumped into the dashboard. We're going to go show you some tips and tricks. We're going to open up to Q&A, but before we go any further, we introduce three rock stars from the Singular team. I've got Catherine, and I've got Suzanne, and I've got Travis joining me today. Travis is in our studio. There he is.
On the wheels of
Shout
steel.
out. There he is. Look at there he is. Look at that beard. That nice long beard from how long have you been at home now? A month or so? At least.
Uh, Maybe 2 years.
It just
Feels like.
like that. But we're gonna have some fun today. We're gonna dive into all things Singular for beginners, really. But we're definitely gonna open up to questions at the end, um, and really show you what happens after you've set up an account. You've gotten into the dashboard, and there's a little bit of confusion there to get from that point over to actually getting some output from Singular from the platform. So really excited to show you that. I think what we should probably do is start with one more thing. I want to give a shout out to our R&D team and the tremendous work they've done. The platform is just performing like a well-oiled machine. And I'd like to jump over to my desktop so I can show you let me just jump out of here. And I'm going to jump over to exit full screen, and we're going to jump over to screen sharing on my side. And here we go. Travis, you got this right now.
I'm
There
ready
you
to go.
Perfect. So for new users that have joined us, and you've gone through the sign up process, you entered your email, you got an authentication email, the email comes back, you sign in, and then you get dumped into the dashboard. Now there is a dialog box that pops up, and there's some good information there, but many of you might have not gone through the steps for the beginners tutorials. We have some nice videos, an amazing Zendesk, which Catherine will dive into. So what do you do when you land into Singular is really the purpose of today's stream. So here we are in the dashboard, and I'm going to go step one. We're going to take you from this point to getting output in Singular. There's a few steps, and we're always improving this, so stay tuned. There's so many cool things coming down the road that I know you're going to love. So let's go to new folder. So I'm in my Singular account, and let's just call this demo. And I'm going to go into this directory, this folder, and I'm going to immediately go get a composition from our marketplace. So again, back to new Singular marketplace. And today I am going to pick, help me out, guys. We were looking at a bunch of different ones this morning. I think Clear we liked, right?
Clear is pretty sharp. It's a sharp one.
Yeah, let's go with Clear. So what happens is when we download this, it's free, it comes down, and it goes right down into that directory. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to close the marketplace dialog box, and a new folder is created inside of the demo folder that I created. I'm going to open that up, and what you're looking at right here is a composition. Now, I'm not going to dive right into the composition first. We'll save that for a little bit later. We're going to get you march right towards getting output. So what's inside here are your actual overlays. So to get access to them from a control standpoint, to make a rundown list of beautiful overlays for your live streams, we're going to go here to open with. We're going to right click. Let's go here. Right click, open with, and we're going to select Studio. Now, for new users, there's two choices here for applications. Let's stick with Studio today. It's got all the features you need to do an amazing suite of overlays for your live stream. So we're going to go to Studio, and I'm going to call this one, let's call it Studio 1. And you can make as many of these as you want, just as a side note. I'm going to call it Studio 1. It's going to open up, and you're going to be left with you're going to land on a screen that is it's prompting you to start adding your overlays into our rundown software. And Studio is incredibly powerful, really nice, handy, easy to use tool for managing your overlays. I think what I'd like to do at this point, I'm gonna pass this over to Suzanne, who's a real rock star in all things Studio, and she's going to show you some of the step-by-steps of how you manage a playlist, and then we're going to get the output, and the output, we're going to show you where you might want to put that for a stream. I think today we're going to use OBS, if I'm not mistaken. So Suzanne, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and why don't you go ahead and share yours. Suzanne is out there in sunny London. I see sunshine shining down on Suzanne right now, and I see a big smile, and I like that. There you go. Boom.
Yes, we've got some lovely sun over here in the UK, which is absolutely well needed.
Love it. Absolutely
We're
love
going
it.
to start off by building our first playlist. Now we're going to head over to this nice little plus button. And when I press this, it's going to start showing me all the overlays that are within this package. And I'm going to go for a two-liner and a liner. So as soon as I press that, you can see that I've got in my preview, I can see what the animation's like. And then I can head down to here and I'm just going to say, change the text. And as you can see, as I start changing the text is changing with me. And this is what we call an update animation. I'm going to change what I'm going to write.
It's incredibly responsive just watching here. I mean, it's really nice that you get that preview immediately so that you can kind of prep your overlays before you want to commit to a live stream.
Yeah, so that's exactly what Suzanne is doing right now is she's prepping all of her overlays before she goes live with her stream. So she's getting, everything ready. She knows generally what she wants to say in the show.
One thing I realized I don't really like the colors, so I'm going to go over to global data. Now, global data is absolutely amazing because it allows me to change the color. So I'm going to go from, say, this blue color to
it's a little tricky when you're, that's a good point. What Suzanne is, what you see the color dialog box. We're zoomed in for the purposes of this stream. We've zoomed in our Chrome window, which probably you wouldn't do this. You'd be zoomed out. I think we're at 125% of the browser. So you can zoom in and out of the browser. Again, just a reminder, this is all cloud-based. Everything you're seeing here is in a browser. So you've got all of the it's absolutely amazing. Suzanne, bring in one of those graphics for me in preview so we can see the effects of your global changes.
And she's, by the way, guys, she's played out the global data overlay. If that's not played out, then the global data doesn't update. Now it already did update, but if you were to change it, just have it played out, basically. I'm
just going to change it to, say, a red color instead. And
it shouldn't have. I guess we spotted a bug, guys.
No. You know what?
It might be.
That's not a bug. That's a feature.
There you go.
Everything is a feature.
This is a feature. It's a feature,
yeah. Okay, so once we've chosen our colors that we like, we can then start playing them out. Now, as you've seen, I've already pressed this play out button here. So hit it. You can see that it's now on my output, and that's here. Now, to get my output into OBS, I'm just going to hit the share button, and I'm going to hover over this, guys. And anyone who's on an Android or an iPhone, they can just get the camera out and scan that, and hopefully you should get that up.
Yes, I'm doing that right now on my phone, actually. And if you're on an iPhone, you can just pull up your camera app, and you don't have to actually take a picture of it. You can just use your camera, hover over it, and then it'll open up a browser window for you. So
yeah, you'll see the output of this control application studio.
Exactly. So I can see that right now, actually, which is super cool.
All right. Now, Travis, have you got the URL? Are you ready to show people how to use this?
Yeah. Now that I've copied the URL that you've created from your control app, I'll show you something you can do with it. So I right now have OBS set up. OBS is free. It's kind of a go-to one for using just simple cameras and overlay sources. So I've already got my camera source set in here. I'm using an NDI camera that we have set up in our studio. So I just select a new source right here, and I will select browser since the Singular output is a web page. So I just enter here. I'm just going to copy that output link in here. I my show is set to 1920 1080. Nice aspect ratio, 16:9. And it loads right in. There we go. And then once you've done this, with OBS, you know, it's great streaming encoder. You go here if you wanted to. You could stream to Twitch, stream to YouTube, stream to Facebook, you know, all of the above. Or if you wanted to, you could set recording, just kind of record for a later use, and just hit start, and away you go. It's that simple.
You know what, Travis, would you do me a favor and jump back over to, so what Travis is using today, we chose OBS. OBS, as Travis mentioned, is free, very powerful piece of software. You can download a PC, Mac. It's sort of the go-to tool for streaming into Twitch or YouTube or pretty much any CDN, Facebook, what have you. So really powerful tool. But, you know, Singular is, in terms of output, where you can use that, it's any streaming software that supports a browser. It will work with Singular. So
yeah, I'm currently
the list
using
is
vMix
long.
to do this, to do our live stream. I'm using vMix in our studio. It's got a few more bells and whistles. But yeah, there's tons and tons
exactly.
of
So,
available
and both of
encoders.
those. Yeah, that's good to mention too, that both of the vMix, which we're using to do this stream today, that's a desktop application. Like Travis said, really powerful, got a lot of features. OBS, another desktop application. And then you move into the other ones that are cloud-based, which we've got a number of partners that are using that. Grabio, very nice tool in the cloud for streaming. Very nice feature set. There's the name escapes me. I'm thinking of our guys at TVU Producer, very nice application. They've integrated with Singular. So there's a number of them out there. And rather than go through all of them in detail, we have Zendesk articles that cover the different ones, some information on how to get the output URL from Singular Studio into those streaming applications. So, you know, if you don't mind, Travis, let's jump back over to Studio for a little bit, because there's so much in Studio, and that's really where most, you know, people are going to start out. I would think most users are going to really spend quite a bit of time in Studio getting their graphics organized and playlists. So is that our output right now? Yeah, there we go. So, you know, the global data, let's jump back to that for a second. So, Suzanne, with a graphic in output like you have right now, go ahead and change those global so people get a better sense. I think earlier when we were doing, we had them in preview. So there you go. So if you have a graphic in program, you can see the immediate effects of changing the global colors. And I think in this package, we have it set to immediately update the graphics in the output.
Yeah, that's correct. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so it's really preference. And all of those details of how the graphics actually behave, how they animate, that's for, I will call it our next series of streams where we're going to really dive into Composer. We've got some great information on the, there's some nice videos on the YouTube. There's obviously a wealth of information in Zendesk about Composer and how to actually really get into a next level of customization for your overlays. And that's really the beautiful thing about Singular. I mean, when you swim upstream of this control application and you get to the composition, you know, you can really make your own custom looks that are just amazing. So, you know, these properties, these primary and secondary colors, these are just the ones that we exposed for customization in Studio. So that the real detailed work happens in Composer, which again, we're going to cover that in a number of streams coming up soon, right, guys?
Very, very soon.
You know, one that might be kind of cool, Suzanne, to show is if you make another playlist, create a new playlist, maybe make I think we have there probably is a ticker or a crawl of some sort in this package. We could add that to a playlist.
So to change the name of my playlist, I've just double-clicked where it said playlist. I've then typed in what I wanted. And then again, I'm going back to our cool little blue button. And I'm just going to see if I have I have a baseline.
Yeah, in this package, we called the baseline graphic Suzanne's called it crawl, but, you know, interchangeable. This is the same basic idea. But you know, this might be a good opportunity to show the timer, which is a really cool feature. If you have maybe a little messaging that you want to do down at the bottom in a crawl type playlist, you can make, you know, a stack of text, if you will, messages, and then set a timer and put it in a loop. So that's kind of a really cool feature.
By pressing Command D, I can duplicate it, or I can right click and also press duplicate. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change this so it just increments up by.
Perfect.
And then I'm just going to rename it so it goes, so I know what it's doing. I can do that here in the overlay editor, or I can do it by double clicking here where it says in the rundown list. And if I do it in the rundown list, I can just press my up and down arrow and I can jump to different pages. Now, I'm going to add in a really quick timer. So to do that, I have to make sure that it's off air, so I can't change and add a timer while it's on air. So I'm just going to go 0.5 on all of these guys. Again, if I press the up and down arrow, I can bounce between them.
That's a nice one. Yeah, the fast in and up and down with the arrow keys.
Now, to get the loop to work, I need to ensure that I press this button up here, which is the loop playlist, and then I can press play.
There it is.
And you can also see that I have a little timer going up, so I know exactly when it's going to bounce to the next guy in the rundown list.
Yeah, this is a really handy tool for if you just need to make some messages. Maybe you're promoting something for your social channels or whatnot. Just have it sitting in a loop, and you can do this with any graphic.
Yeah, you can forget about it entirely.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be at that graphic. Any graphic can be turned into a timed loop.
We can do it. I'm going to do it also up here. With my bugs, again, I'm just going to press loop and set that round.
That way.
So we can have multiple things going.
You know, it didn't dawn on me, guys, earlier in the week when we were going through this stream. It just dawned on me that a nice thing to show users might be show some of our viewers. Suzanne, go ahead and stop those lists for a moment. Sometimes what I do when I download a package from the marketplace, because we've got quite a few, and I'm not quite familiar with all of the different graphics that we have, and we're constantly changing it and adding it, and Catherine's sending out messages on our social channels and in our newsletter, letting people know when we've brought in new themes into our marketplace. Go ahead and make a new playlist for me, Suzanne, and then just do that auto playlist feature, because I think this is a really nice way for users to see exactly what's in these packages. Now, this one, admittedly, is quite large. There's quite a few overlays in this one, and that's okay. We'll go ahead and do an auto playlist. There's 3 little buttons up there on the right, auto playlist, and that's going to give you a quick way of taking in all the graphics. And this first dialog box is going to ask you if you want a timer on them, and we'll just leave it at nothing, so we don't have timer on these, and hit OK, and then we'll take a look at what's in the composition. Quite a few graphics. You can see the list populated, and then you can quickly cruise down and just kind of see what you like, delete what you don't want. Again, this is a pretty heavy composition in the marketplace, but some really nice graphics. You have a variety of lower thirds, bass lines, the crawls that we were showing you earlier. I think it looked like there's like 4 full screens in there. Yeah.
There's a lot in this package.
There is, and there's
nice
the marketplace. You know, explore it, download as many of them as you want, take a look at them, find. Actually, Suzanne, jump back over to the dashboard for me. Just let's look at the marketplace a little bit. Yeah, there you go. So peruse through this again. Download as many of these as you want. If you download something and then you say, you know, I don't really like this, you just simply go ahead and delete it. It's pretty straightforward. And we are constantly updating this. You know, some of them, we consolidate over time, and we let our users know, okay, well, this is, you know, through our newsletter, hey, we're gonna, you know, change this one or add a new one. So we're definitely listening to our user base and finding out what are the most applicable ones. We've got some users that use these as a starting point. They'll download a package and maybe make some modifications. And again, that's not for today's stream. Diving into Composer is going to be really a series of streams. And again, we have some nice videos and Zendesk articles if you want to dive into the support desk, which, you know what, while we're here, why don't we, Suzanne, go ahead and close out of the marketplace for me, and then show our viewers where the support button is, and then we'll pass this over to Catherine a little bit so she can talk a little bit about support. We might come in and out. Support is so deep. There's so much information in here that, you know, it's deep. There, you can search in here. You can send us responses, but I'm going to let Catherine dive into this. But before I do, one more thing. Let's make sure we remind anyone who's out there that watching, if you want, we have a chat window. Go ahead and put in any comments that you might have. If you have questions or give us an idea of what you might like to see in future streams, whatever's on your mind, let us know. So Catherine, why don't you jump into this support a little bit? We can talk about that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen and send it
Go
over
ahead
to
and
you.
do that. I'm going to get to where you guys are in the dashboard.
Travis, if we end up we're using Zoom on this call. That's right. Yeah, we're using Zoom, just so you guys know how we're jumping around. We're using Zoom, and it's in a 4-box configuration.
Yep, I just got Zoom running over on another monitor here, and I'm doing a desktop capture of our Zoom window, bringing in the audio from it, and this is how we're all chatting and streaming at the same time. Pretty simple to set up.
Great. Really nice piece of software.
All right, guys. So I'm going to briefly go over our support resources that I think you're going to find, you know, a lot of use and a lot of I don't know. I find it useful if I'm, you know, searching for stuff and I need to know how to do things, how to build stuff in Studio. So let me go ahead and share my screen.
I think Catherine's underplaying. There is so much information in there. Everything for developers on the API side, which we can touch on briefly as we sort of maybe towards the end, to examples. And again, it's a great place too to leave messages for our dev team, because we read this stuff. We get quite a few messages and requests.
Yeah, so as Suzanne, as you guys have covered, if you hit the support button here, you're going to pull up what we call our support widget. It's really helpful. It'll give you some, you know, basic suggestions depending on where you are in the platform. But if, for example, you want to go over what we just covered in this, what we call a beginner's guide, you can go ahead and search that. I've already searched it, so I'm going to drop it in. And there it is. So when you find what you like, obviously click on it. And it's got the entire article listed out in this window. And if you're like me and you think this is too small, you can click that button in the bottom or the top right-hand corner, and it's going to load up our entire support portal. So what's in here is, like I said, it's really useful. And if you jump over to the actual homepage, there's a lot of different resources, like Stephen said. So there's stuff for beginners, getting started, operating your overlays here, which is what Suzanne had covered in Studio, and then sharing your overlays, which is what Travis had worked us through with OBS and, you know, some other software out there, whether it's cloud or desktop based. And then we've also got a bunch of resources for creating custom overlays. Stephen mentioned this previously. He mentioned Composer. Composer is our custom overlay builder. So if you head into this section, it's going to be a really great resource for you to figure out how to, you know, go from the basics to being a really advanced artist in Composer. So let's jump back to
Catherine, real quick. Let me just add to what you said there, because can you just scroll back up to that to those the three: create, control, and share?
Sure.
Because I think this is a really good overview for beginners to trying to get their head around the. This is a platform, very powerful, with some really deep tools. So it can be a little daunting for some. So what we covered today just was the control piece. Again, the studio application. You can make as many of them as you want. We can jump back to the dashboard and show you how to do that. And the share was, as Catherine said, that's the output side. So where are you going to share your output of your studio application. In this case, we're using OBS in our example, and we're actually streaming. We're sharing our output. We're using vMix to put the video together and to do additional graphics. And that create piece, the third piece of the puzzle, is the most, I'll call it, in depth. That's where you're getting into really custom graphics, but that gives you a sort of a global sort of peek at what the platform is. Those three pieces are the big three components to the platform as a whole. So I just want to reiterate that because it can get a little daunting. For today's purpose is really control and to show you how we're getting the output.
Okay, so I want to cover one last piece of this, which is something else that you're going to find very useful, which is if you can't find what you're actually searching for, don't worry, you can leave us a message. It will auto drop in your email address of your account, which is great. You can change it if you want for whatever reason. Go ahead and drop us a line. Hello, you know, whatever it is, ask it. No question is a bad question. I think we can all, you know, agree on that. I think it's incredibly insightful for us to know what you guys need help with, where we're lacking maybe in our support resources. We've had a number of times where people have reached out and have actually given us incredible ideas for how we can adapt and evolve our platform as a whole. So please reach out. Not just so we can help you, but you know, you can help us, and together we can, you know, evolve this platform into something that you know, works for everyone. So you can also attach some files if you want, depending on, you know, what the question is. Screen shares, screen grabs. If you're reporting a bug, we encourage you to do the same thing. Leave us a message, attach some files, let us know, and then you just hit send. It's pretty straightforward. I'm sure you guys have worked with something like this before.
If I know our dev team is watching, and I will tell you, they're going to tell you those are, as we call them, undocumented features. But yes, absolutely send those. Send, as Travis alluded to earlier, but yes, Catherine's absolutely right. Send us those images, and on the other side of that support, on the receiving end of that support, is a group. I mean, a group. It's wide ranging. You know, you've got the dev guys are definitely watching and they're responding. So the questions come in, and there's a huge range of questions we get. You know, I need this feature or that feature, or can I do this? Or so it's something that we that's our first line of input from users. So please use it, and we're quite busy with it, Catherine, I would say.
Yeah,
yourself,
yes.
myself, and Thomas as well. We know he's busy, and Hubert, the whole team. So that's the place to go. I think
we're supposed to open it up for questions now, right? I don't know if anyone's dropped us a question in
just
YouTube.
The chat so far, no questions have come in.
That's fine. We have stuff prepped, right?
That came in on my end. First question we got is, can Singular overlays render in 4K?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're resolution independent. I mean, you can. It really comes down to the hardware that you're rendering on. So it certainly can render. We can render any aspect ratio, 4K. When you're in Composer and you're authoring a composition, you can set the aspect ratio to anything you want. And I mentioned this earlier, and probably when we started this, I should really hammer home this point that this is completely cloud-based. Every aspect of it, all the windows and everything that you're opening, all the browser tabs that you're opening, whether it's Studio in a browser tab or Composer. But back to the point, the actual question, absolutely, you can do 4K. Okay, what you're going to do with that 4K output URL is
entirely up to you, right?
Exactly.
Speaking on it being a cloud-based software, another question is, what web browser should I use?
I would say, yeah, and I think generally, I will tell you for myself and our team, the team is primarily we are in Chrome. It's not that we don't test and try and are running Singular. I know a number of customers are using something other than Chrome, but I would say Chrome would be our preferred. That's where you want to be doing your development and whatnot. But again, I haven't heard of any really nasty problems in Safari or Firefox. So, obviously report those if you see them, because there are differences in the browser. It's a very good point. There are differences in the browser. But generally speaking, I mean, we haven't had too many, Catherine, you can probably speak to this better in terms of issues that we're having across the big browsers. But Chrome is,
not often.
most of our team is in Chrome most of the time.
Yeah, Chrome is definitely the safest option for sure. So.
Okay, we have another question coming in. Do Singular overlays work with YouTube's player?
Singular overlays work with YouTube's player. You can, well.
Kind of an advanced question for people who
player,
are
yeah,
down with,
that's different.
I'm good. This is an interesting one because obviously you can add Singular overlays to a streaming software like we were showing you earlier, demonstrating with OBS, and then stream the result of that into a CDN like YouTube. In terms of having, if you're maybe alluding to like more advanced features, because clearly with Singular there's a whole interactive layer. So the graphics, the overlays that we make in Singular can be made interactive. We have a nice suite of sort of tools for basic interactivity, and then you can get into much more advanced stuff with JavaScripting and whatnot, and do some pretty amazing stuff on that on client-side rendering. But specifically with their player in terms of interactivity, no, you can't do that. I don't think that's all locked down by YouTube. But again, it's not to say that you can't stream graphic overlays into YouTube, but
I think Stu, I think maybe what we could tell them is that we have embed codes in the outputting process of Studio that allow you to marry your video with a YouTube video and then throw it on your own website. So you can't have interactivity on your own YouTube channel, but you can have it on YouTube videos on your own website. Right.
I would suggest on that specific question for some more details, I would suggest that submit use the help Zendesk and submit a question, maybe in more detail if you'd like, and we can certainly dive into that, because Catherine is exactly right. When you output Singular or outputs from the Studio control application, we just showed you the output URL, but there's embed codes which you can then take, and you can embed the output of Singular into any number of players, and it will live within that player, and the list is long of players out there as an iframe within that player. So that's maybe a little bit more information on that front. But you can, we have a player. We wrote a player that does, and you know what, Catherine, that's a good point. We should make a mention of that, in future streams of showing some examples of where we're using our player, which allows for interactivity, of Singular elements. So that's a really powerful feature of Singular. So
all right,
it's definitely more advanced.
We have another question that came in. They're asking, is there an image available that I could use to show me title-safe areas? And could it be a standard background image in all compositions? Is that something? It's a smart idea there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're referencing like traditional title and action safe for say broadcasters, which is 90%, action safe is 90% of the total available raster output of a broadcast, and then title is 80%, I believe. So that's a good point. I mean, I don't think we have anything built in like a button to sort of turn that on and off, because I think primarily it's probably because although a lot of our users are using traditional 16:9 aspect ratio, in the past 4:3 standard def, which is long gone for most of us. So I don't think there's anything in there, but I would say for now, there's nothing. I would probably suggest making like an SVG, so you have a nice clean line. That's certainly something, Catherine, we could include in a download.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. I think for right now, how we would handle that, instead of a button in the UI, we can certainly mention this to the dev guys, is just have a package you can download from the marketplace. Because in the marketplace, you can download compositions, but you can also download assets. So we can provide a suite of images, and that would definitely be one of them. But again, back to title safe and action safe specifically, I think probably why it's not there is because we're resolution independent. Yes, we predominantly, when we're producing content, it's either in a portrait or landscape aspect ratio. So, but in the advent of sort of digital production, it's not as relevant. That's probably why we didn't put it. But very good point. I mean, there's nothing stopping us from having visible lines, either in, well, heck, you could do it in Studio or in the Composer. So, good point. That's a good suggestion.
All right. Next question coming in. Can I send compositions and apps to other users?
No. I'm kidding. Of course you can. Yes. Yes. You simply, actually, you know what?
Can I screen share and I can show everyone how to do that?
Catherine's
Absolutely.
gonna jump
Absolutely.
in and
Take it
show you.
away.
It's very easy. If you know what you're looking for. So, okay. Do you guys see my screen? We're good.
Yes.
Let me pop down into some, let's see, where was our studio show that we created here? Jumping around demo, that's where it was. Okay, so if I want to send this studio show to any other user, I just have to right click and hit send to user. So you're going to enter in the user's email address. So now if that email address isn't actually a valid user, it's going to turn red. So that's just a good thing
Thank
to
you
know
for showing.
about.
That's a good point. And the nice thing is the guys added a really cool feature. So if Catherine does this, there you go. It goes blue, and you can send a message. You could send a nice note if you want. Two things I want to add on this, because if Catherine, go ahead and send that one, and then
sure.
take the composition above it and right click and send that as well. So you can send applications or compositions, send that to user. And I really love this feature. It remembers the last, you see her emails, Catherine's emails still in the send to dialog box, because sometimes I'm sending the comp and the application across to another account, which is it's a nice little time saver. But yeah, it's a great feature.
All right. Next one. Do Singular control apps work on mobile devices?
Yes, they do. So if you go to share, actually, Catherine, if you want to take this one, Suzanne, just go to share and bring up, I believe we bring up we have a QR code there that you can scan. Now, is Studio designed specifically for, what was the question again, Travis, for mobile or for tablet? Sorry.
For mobile devices.
Okay, so they can. I don't think we've really designed Studio per se, because that's a handful that you have. That's quite a few graphics to have in your hand. But they can be. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it works pretty well on tablet. I mean, it's browser based, so you can pull up your browser app or whatever.
Exactly.
And throw it up there. But
we didn't really.
do you want me to show them?
So again,
so that's for the output. But if you want to share like the control app for someone to operate, they can even operate it without actually logging into an account. So
actually,
this link works for someone who's actually inside of the account and has authorization. But if you want, you can manage the access, and then if you generate an app URL, you can send this URL right here. You can copy it. You can send that to anybody. So you can have operators that don't have any access to Singular, and they'll get access to this control app to be able to operate the overlays. So that's really good for cloud-based workflows.
Yeah, again, that's managing access. So Catherine, go back to that for one quick moment. I want to just show a little. Okay, so that QR code, if you scan that, this is what got generated is a shared token. So you do not need, as Catherine said, you do not need to log into this Singular account to get access to this control application. It's a very handy tool if you just want to show somebody that's maybe outside of the account, but you don't necessarily want to give them access to your account. You can also revoke that down at the bottom. If you revoke, okay, so then that is no longer a valid URL for someone who has access to it. There's other things in here too. We won't dive into this, the API URL and the app token. So that's for more advanced stuff. not probably for today's stream. Travis, what else is out there?
Actually, to speak on that, if you wanted to quickly take a look, I literally just scanned that QR code.
Oh, nice.
And now here it is,
Sweet.
open in Studio. Let me try to take something out. Boom, took it out. Brought it back in with just my phone there. So yeah, that was super easy.
Yeah, and we are actively exploring developing more. We're always the new users. When you come in, you're going to see two control apps that we offer in new accounts. It's Studio and Spark. Spark is not quite a bit of. We're not really doing much dev on it. You can certainly try it. It's a little bit more tablet friendly. It'll give you just a less of a feature set than Studio. So again, we're not going to dive into that one today for the purposes of this. We're staying focused on Studio, but certainly try it. I think it's pretty intuitive. It's actually less of a feature set than Studio. But like Travis said, yeah, absolutely. These work on smaller devices, but again, how much can you fit on that phone or tablet? So, but yeah, that was pretty good, Travis. Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Another quick question. They're asking, can I upload video clips into the Singular dashboard if people want to use video at all?
Okay, video.
Stu
Catherine,
says no.
Catherine, I wanted to see out of Catherine to give me one of these. Okay, let's talk about video for a second.
It's complicated. It's more complicated than it seems.
It is, but I'm glad it came up. Okay, so number one, when you upload an asset to your Singular dashboard, which you can just drag and drop an asset into your Singular dashboard. Those assets, they are the usual suspects for anybody who does any web development, or not the people who don't do web development. It's JPEG, it's PNG, it's GIFs, SVGs, but not videos. And really for file size, we don't want to be handling video clips in, they can be tremendously large and all kinds. It's a whole can of worms on the video file format. Now, that's not to say we have in Composer, for those who get to that level and really want to start making their own graphics, they might want to use some of the tools. Actually, Catherine and I had a nice conversation about this yesterday. I don't know how nice it was. We were like pulling our hair out a little bit, which for good reason. There's two video widgets in there, one for a video file and one for, I believe it's a YouTube. We can play back a YouTube clip. Now, if you use that and you start making a big list of graphics and you say, well, it's not loading quite quickly. Well, my first question would be, ask yourself, does it load really fast in YouTube? If you just go back and forth between two YouTube videos, it takes a second for it to load. So the same sort of, not the same, it's the same principles that sort of dictate the web in terms of loading and caching, that's for us as well. So video is we have a video clip widget and we have a YouTube clip. You can use them, but are we going to guarantee?
Widget, that's a new word, right? Is that it? That's a new word for these guys?
Yeah, we're really, for all intents and purposes, the video is sort of outside of Singular's I don't want to say sweet spot. We're in the overlay creation part of the picture, but you can use them. You don't have to be like afraid of them. But they're not going to be playing like you might expect them. For example, it's not going to play, full, frame accurately and these things. So it's a bigger can of worms than I think most people want to take on. But I've used them. I've used them for different things. I will tell you specifically on the video clip widget. For some of you more advanced users, I'll just throw this out there and then we'll get back to the questions. If you run a local web server, for example, you can host those assets, those video clips on a local machine, and they're going to pull up faster. They're going to load up faster into Chrome much quicker than they would, say, if they're on a server and God knows where they are. So that's just a little sneak. It's a better understanding of load time. That definitely helps reduce load time. So, again, video is a whole nother can of worms, I'll call it.
If you want moving images, though, GIFs work perfectly fine too. If you can.
Yeah, animated GIFs. Good point. It's amazing I use them all the time. So, that's
spreadsheets.
Another question that came in is, can people edit 4K 60 on Singular?
Edit 4K 60. Not quite sure I understand the question.
Yeah.
4K 60. I would say I'll go back to, we can author at any aspect ratio. I think, hey, Travis, when we did that test for the one client we were doing here in the back office, what were we doing? It was some odd aspect. It was like 5,000, 5,800 by something.
Oh,
So
yes,
again, it's
yes,
just,
yes.
it was
Oh,
the
was that
seven,
that video wall thing?
we had we had
Yeah.
7 portrait aspect ratio monitors side by side, lined up, and it's in the studio. One of our clients has this, and so we were authoring a composition at that aspect ratio, and then mapping that onto those 7.
Yeah, so I believe it's like
Yeah.
whatever your video card can handle, Singular can come along for the ride.
Exactly, and I think in that example where we were doing that really large aspect ratio, and I believe that was at I don't remember the frame rate, but in any event, you know, that so much of that is not so much on Singular side, it's more on your hardware, because clearly you're not going to be doing that client side, I wouldn't imagine, perhaps. But so in any event, I guess the long-winded answer is, again, aspect ratio is, we're resolution independent, or whatever resolution you want. In terms of frame rate, I think we covered that in one of our Zendesk articles. You know, in Chrome, there's a really cool monitoring tool in Chrome for FPS, where you can actually see the frames per second that Chrome is rendering. I say Chrome because I'm generally, when I'm building compositions, doing different client projects, we're working in Chrome. But yeah, there's a tool in Chrome for monitoring what the output is in terms of frame rate. Again, and on that point too, just because this is a more advanced question, I would say that, you know, you really want to be looking at the final output from, say, your studio application with maybe not a lot of other things running on your system. Obviously, but you want to give us a chance to, the Chrome a chance to render with as much resources as possible. So also when you're in Composer, the rendering rate you're going to get in Composer is going to be significantly less than you get in your final output URL from Studio, because you have all the overhead of the Composer UI and what have you, and a whole host of other factors. So long-winded answer, but hopefully it makes sense.
All right, now another question coming in. Does Singular have any delay?
Does Singular have any delay?
I
don't know, probably a
maybe
continuation.
Like when you hit animate in to when you actually see it.
I think maybe if we're talking about delay in terms of the processing of the messages from Studio back to your, that is going to have a certain amount of delay, because as we go through processing of that message and back down to your output, I can't tell you exactly what the delay is, and I can tell you one thing: it's definitely going to vary.
I think a lot
Probably
of it will depend on internet speed as well. Since this is browser-based.
Throw that to the dev guys. Make them chew on that one in a support message.
Speaking of the dev guys, we have someone who just, I think, more of a kind of, not really a question, but something that they're running into. It's kind of jammed in there. I think they're running into maybe a CPU usage issue when they have multiple instances of Chrome up in their MacBook Pro.
Could very well be. I think Travis might have been with you. There was one of our customers was a vMix customer. They were cutting, they were removed from their facility because of the virus, and they were cutting, doing their productions out of a home office on vMix, and they had one Singular output going into vMix and no problem. I think they added a second, they were still okay. And when they got into the third, they're taxing the CPU of the machine that's running vMix. So yeah, obviously when you get into these more, you want to be keeping an eye on CPU usage. And these different options out there for streaming they vary. Some of them handle the Chromium embedded framework, the CEF portion, the rendering portion, better than others. So it's a little bit of trial and error. I think we cover some of that in our Zendesk articles, and it's something we get involved with, maybe not so much even by choice, but because of our customers use a wide variety of output options, right? They're using, like, again, everything from OBS to vMix to our friends at Grabio and TVU and on and on and on. So that you have to monitor that. You got to monitor that with the same tools that you would monitor it, or if you were using, any graphics platform. You got to keep an eye on CPU and GPU for that matter. Hopefully that answers that one.
I hope so. I think that's all we have. It's been fun.
I have a sneaking suspicion as we move forward, guys, we're coming in on sort of to wrap this one up today, but we're going to be getting some requests. I think generally speaking, our user base is asking some really interesting questions and advanced questions in our support channels. So we're going to be following this up, these streams, with a whole series of different streams on Composer. I mean, it's deep, it's powerful, incredible. I mean, the kinds of stuff that that I've seen that customers, without our input whatsoever, haven't been able to get out of. I like shake my head and say, "Holy smokes, you're doing that in Singular! It's amazing, absolutely amazing." So, I think we'll be doing more of these. Catherine will keep you posted on the social channels and on our newsletter, which I think we just sent one out last week or beginning of this week.
Yesterday.
I might have spoke too soon. We have just a real quick question. I think we could speak on this one real easily. They're asking about control options for Singular. Whether you have maybe third-party ways of controlling Singular, not just from pushing the buttons in Studio. Are there other ways to control your Studio app?
I'm glad that came up. That's the beauty of this platform, because we have an API and an SDK for controlling Singular from your own custom control apps. Now, if you choose, you can stay within our house, so to speak. You can write control apps under our umbrella, and you get all the advantages that we have built in for instancing and replicating Studio. Because when we were showing you Studio earlier, there's nothing stopping you from going back to the dashboard, or the example that Suzanne made, and just duplicating that as many times as you want. There's those types of things. But back to the question at hand, yes, absolutely, we can. We have a number of customers that choose to write their own custom applications, and some of those are desktop applications. In fact, our team has written some that are C# based, but back in the cloud side of things, we have people that will create their own custom applications in browser based. So absolutely. And then our integrators do a variety of different things with the platform. They will control Singular via our REST calls, commands, if you will, to take graphics in and out and set payloads and what have you. Sometimes they'll host our a slightly modified version of our Studio Control app inside as an iframe. Several customers, top of my head, do that. And others do a little bit of both, where they might want their own custom fill-in forms. We have our defaults. They might write their own. So yeah, absolutely. And it's deep, and it gets a lot of use and more every day, which is, it's just great to see people adopting it. So it becomes more of a standard that people can use. And the API is not very well documented. I have to say the guys did a great job on it, the API and the SDK. So that's another hat tip to Thomas, because I know he's out there.
Thomas is watching. He's always watching.
So unless there's any other ones, I think we're kind of approaching our an hour. Not that we had to go an hour. We could go a little longer, but
I think on that note we could say our goodbyes. We will be posting this video to our YouTube channel, so feel free to rewatch it. If you have any questions, feel free to use the support portal.
Cool. I was going to say we're going to throw in some relevant links, I think, to this YouTube video, this live stream, because we talked about a couple of things. We'll throw in a download link for OBS, some relevant support portal links and stuff, so you guys can, know what you're doing.
I have to say too, but let's cut through it. The real reason we're finishing this up is because there is sunshine on Suzanne Charman's face, and she is in the we're going to allow her, and the days are longer now, so we're going to allow her to enjoy that sunshine and say thank you for watching. And we, Catherine, will let you know when we're going to do another one of these streams. There might be some different casted characters. It might be the four of us again. We'll see how it plays out. But thanks again for watching. And Travis, thanks for your help. Catherine, thanks to you, and Suzanne as well.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Take care.
Bye,
Yeah.
everybody.